Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's weather forecast, we have some pretty dangerous severe weather to talk about today. Plus, we will even be going over the threats for flash flooding too as well. And we actually do have a decent risk for flash flooding, which is a slight risk level 2 out of 4 threat, which pretty much includes areas along the Ohio River. And then we will still be talking about that cool down that's going to be moving through at the end of this week. So definitely get ready for that. But let's go ahead and first start out on what's happening across the United States today. And like I said, we do have a dangerous risk for severe weather across portions of the New England region. This is a enhanced level 3 out of 5 threat across New York heading into Vermont. But we even got that slight risk of severe weather in effect that does head as far down south as northern Virginia. But we even got a few other slight risks, one across places like eastern Nebraska, one down here towards southeast Colorado, southwest Kansas, back into the panhandle of Texas, and as well as Oklahoma. And then we got this other one across southern Missouri, southern Illinois, back into western Kentucky as well. So those will be the areas to be watching the closest today, as we will have favorable ingredients for severe thunderstorms for today. So if we look at the hazards, as you can see, we do have a 2% risk for tornadoes across New England, and that's what's not driving that enhanced risk. And we will talk about what's driving that enhanced risk in just a second. But we even do have a 2% risk across places like eastern Nebraska. So if you do live in one of these green colors, make sure to be weather aware, as we could see a few isolated tornadoes today, but overall chances are pretty low. So you shouldn't have to worry much about tornadoes, but I would still recommend having that action plan in place just in case. But what's really driving that enhanced risk across New England is this threat for damaging winds. As you can see, we got a 30% risk for damaging winds across New York heading into Vermont. Because the wind threat is pretty elevated today, we could see some wind gusts upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour with some of these thunderstorms. So definitely be ready for that, which includes securing down your objects such as a trampoline, your chairs, your lawn furniture, just all that stuff that could possibly be blown away in the wind. So definitely secure all those objects outdoors if you live in that red shaded color. And then around that, we got that 15% risk for damaging winds, which includes the entire site risk. And same goes for this one, and as well as this one, which all have a damaging wind threat. For the hail threat, not really looking at a high hail threat, but we could still see some hail upwards of quarter size across New York. So definitely still be ready for that, which does at least mean to park your vehicles into your garage. But even over here into places like eastern Nebraska and down here towards the panhandle of Oklahoma into southwest Kansas and southeast Colorado, will also need to do the same thing. So if you live in a hail threat, especially this yellow color, make sure to park your cars into your garage and protect them, as we could see some quarter size hail, which is 1 inch in diameter or larger potentially. Now, let's go ahead and look at tomorrow's threat, and this is going to be for day 2. And we do have a slight risk for severe weather across portions of the I-95 corridor, heading from southern Vermont to all the way back down into the Washington, D.C. area, which will be the corridor to be watching the closest for a few severe thunderstorms. And this also does include New York City, by the way. So if you do live in this yellow color, which again does include the I-95 corridor, make sure to be weather aware, as we could very well see some damaging winds, large hail, and not as high as a tornado threat tomorrow, but we could still be seeing a few isolated tornadoes across that area. Now, let's go ahead and look at the storm reports. This is from yesterday, and this is just obliterating, okay? Look how many damaging wind reports there were. All these blue colors indicate a damaging wind report, and as you can see, we had 769 damaging wind reports, and those all were across the upper Midwest, back into the northern Ohio Valley, into northern Illinois, into Iowa, and then we even had a lot of that across New England, back down into the southeast, and then we even had a couple isolated damaging wind reports back out here to the west too as well. So just an obliterating amount of damaging wind reports that happened yesterday, especially from that derecho that occurred across that area. So definitely going to be pretty obliterating, like I said, to see that many reports come in after that derecho. Now, let's go ahead and look at the flooding threat for today, and flooding is going to be a very big concern, okay? We got a long slight risk for flash flooding that does include areas along the Ohio River, back into the Missouri and Mississippi Valley, especially the mid-Mississippi Valley, back into parts of the plains. So this is definitely going to be a big area to watch for flash flooding, as it is a pretty long area. So if you do live across the Ohio River, back into the mid-Mississippi Valley and into the plains, definitely make sure you do have ways to receive flood alerts, as we could very well see a few inches of rainfall across this entire yellow region. Now, for tomorrow with the flood risk, we got two slight risks for flash flooding still in play for tomorrow. It just shifts down to the south, and as you can see, we got one area across Arkansas into western Tennessee and into a little bit of northeast Texas and southeast Oklahoma to watch for, and then we got another one across central southern Colorado into northern New Mexico to also watch for too, as well, as we head into tomorrow. Now, for the total rainfall, as you can see, we do have a ton of rainfall that will likely occur across the East Coast. So it's pretty much from now all the way to July 26th. And as you can see, like I said, I did say that there is going to be a ton of rainfall across the south and as well as the southeast, but even up the I-95 corridor, we could very well get a lot of rainfall from these storms. And of course, some of that could even happen across parts of the Ohio Valley, back into the mid-Mississippi Valley, into the Great Lakes region, and back down here into the Midwest. So definitely an area that we do need to be watching for. Plus, we could even see some average amounts out here to the west, as we do have some spotty showers and thunderstorms potentially developing, proposing at least a risk for some heavy downpours, and that's why we're kind of seeing some 1-inch totals in some areas. Now, if we look at future severe weather, and as you can see, for future severe weather, we could see an enhanced risk get issued across parts of southern North Carolina, back into northern South Carolina on Thursday, July 18th, and then after Thursday this week, we start to kind of calm down a little bit with the severe weather, but we could still very well see a couple marginal risks in play each of those days, starting on Friday and continuing through the beginning of next week. But things do change quite a bit with this severe weather outlook, so definitely take all this with a grain of salt, but I would still be watching closely for some severe weather, especially if you live across the Carolinas. Now, let's go ahead and look at the Climate Prediction Center outlook. This is from July 24th all the way to July 25th, and this is both with the temperature and precipitation. And like I said, we are seeing a cool down that's going to be moving through across parts of the Central Plains, back into parts of the eastern U.S., and then we even have a big heat dome that's going to be building back in out here to the west, still bringing some record-breaking heat into some areas, especially up here towards Montana into Idaho. And then for the precipitation, like I said, we could very well see some near average precipitation amounts, and that's why we could see near normal to slightly above average precipitation out here in parts of the western United States, which is good news after being quite dry this summer. But still, we could, very well use less rainfall, because it is very easily to see flooding, especially after the soil has been very dry like concrete, which makes it very hard for the rain to soak in. But we definitely don't need a ton of rainfall down here across the southern United States, as we already saw Hurricane Beryl move into Texas, still bringing chances for well above average precipitation. And it's not Beryl that's bringing that. What I meant to say is that Texas is still going to be seeing a lot of showers and thunderstorms, and that is definitely going to be pretty heavy, especially after all that rain that we already saw there. But also across the south and southeast will be some areas to still watch for. And then on the 8 to 14 day outlook, we still continue to see above average precipitation across the west, or above average temperatures rather. But even across the east coast, we could see some above average temperatures, and of course we see below average temperatures still continuing across parts of the central and eastern United States. And then back over here for the precipitation, we still continue to see well above average precipitation across Texas, and then we even continue to see that across parts of the I-95 corridor too as well. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys are liking my new screen so far, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. And if you guys will please subscribe to my YouTube channel, that will be great, especially after I have gotten back in town, to keep you guys updated with more of this extreme weather to still come. And I do hope you guys will have a great rest of your day, and of course stay safe from all of the weather that could be coming.